All right guys, welcome back. Very exciting menu today. We're gonna do a beautiful lamb pie with broad beans and feta cheese, lots of parsley in there with a beautiful little celery salsa. Tune in. First thing we need to do is just to start browning our lamb shanks. So over here I've just got about 1 kilo worth of lamb shanks. Any secondary cut of red meat will work really, really well. I've got a pot on, medium heat, got a neutral flavored oil, sunflower oil. We're gonna liberally salt our lamb shanks. And then we're just gonna add them to the pot. Just want there to be enough heat so that we get a nice caramelization on this lamb. At this stage, I'm just going to take them out, put them back on the plate where they came from. It's on a nice high heat. And then I'm just going to get this onion, crudely chop it. Going with our rosemary, nice bit of thyme, some bayleaf in there as well. Litre of chicken stock here. You can use vegetable stock, beef stock, whatever you want. Going to add the lamb back in, maybe with some tongs so we don't get greasy fucking lamb hands. Once up to the boil, we're going to put it in the oven at 160 degrees for about 1.5 to 2 hours, or until it's just tender and delicious. And now we can make the pastry. This is a bit of an unconventional pie dough. It's sort of more of an empanada style crust, so there's no butter in it. It's a lot easier to work with, and it's a lot lighter for summer and spring. Firstly, we're going to start with 500 grams of plain flour with a pinch of salt and 1 level teaspoon of baking powder. Just get a little mixy. So made a little well in the middle. I'm gonna crack an egg in the center. I'm gonna add a cup of milk, just full cream milk, and then 125 mils of good quality olive oil. And I'm just gonna break the egg up a little bit. And once it gets to about this stage, then we can start incorporating our hands. And we don't really wanna work it like bread. You know, we still want to create a reasonably delicate sort of dough, but just need enough just to bring it together. And there we go. Really nice dough. It's all come together. Just going to cut it in half by eye. Make little balls. So I've just covered the dough in Glad wrap, and it's just going to rest in the fridge for a minimum of 45 minutes. And now we can pretty much do the finishing stages to bring the filling together for this delicious pie. Here I've just got one sort of large Dutch cream potato. I'm just gonna peel it and cook it in salted water. This potato is just there to sort of help bind the filling a little bit more and just soak up some of those lamb juices. Give it a rough chop. A bit of salt. That goes on the stove, bring it up to a boil, cook it for about 10 minutes or until it's tender. Here I've got some broad beans that I've just blanched in some hot water. These are 250 grams of cooked broad beans. But any sort of other seasonal green can work. Peas will work really well with this. Even frozen peas or frozen broad beans will work fine in this. I can pop them in this large bowl. I've got lots of parsley and I've got some oregano as well from the garden. Roughly chopped. That goes in. Oregano. Over here, I've got about 175 grams of salty feta. This is really helps with the seasoning of the filling as well. So once I add my lamb, the potato and everything, will give it a taste, but it shouldn't really need any additional salt. And that already kind of looks delicious, to be honest. So I've got 1 large clove of garlic over here, 2 small ones will do. And we're just trying to chop it as fine as we can. My lamb has been in for 1.5 hours. I let it cool down a little bit in the liquid, strained the liquid, and I've kept about a cup of liquid. And as you can see, the shank is real tender. I've shredded some before, and it's just falling apart. Yeah, get as much meat off as you can. You know, we want to keep reasonably big chunks. You don't want to sort of mince it up into this, just a bunch of finely shredded fibers. And I've checked my potatoes. They're nice and tender. And I'm just going to strain them off. So they go straight in. And we're just gonna start working them. We're gonna break the potatoes up a little bit. And we're just gonna add a little bit of this lamb stock. Just added half of it. Mostly because it keeps the mixture nice and moist, but also it adds really, really good flavor. This is sort of what we're going for. It's sort of like if I do this, if I squeeze it between my hands, right, it's sort of like holding together nicely, but it's still nice and loose. So we've got our delicious mixture made. We can leave that aside. And now we've got our pastry that we've left in the fridge. I've just taken it out of the Glad wrap and I'm just putting on some greaseproof paper. I prefer to roll in between layers of greaseproof paper instead of flour. I think it just like makes like a, you know, dramatically less messy experience. I don't have a rolling pin, so I'm gonna use this wine bottle because I'm, you know, cool and rustic. Create a nice, even, flat circle. Reasonably thin. Remember, we have like the baking powder in here, so it will rise a little bit. Yeah, pretty good to go. Just put an egg yolk in here, just for the glazing of the pie. And we're just gonna get a little mix. Cool, let's build up high. We get a layer of pastry. Hopefully they're obviously the same size, but you can see one's a bit smaller, then use that on the bottom. So we're just gonna compact it down a little bit and leave about probably like 2 or 3 centimeters from the edge, I would say. I just want to trim the excess pastry, leaving that sort of 2 centimeter gap. For the crimping, you can get a fork and quite easily just do it with a fork. So I just sort of fold it on itself. And now we're just gonna cover it with the egg wash and be pretty generous with it. We want like a real nice glaze on this. You know, you put in all this work, may as well impress some people. I just like to put a little X in the middle of it, just so you can let some of that steam come off. And then just some flake sea salt. A, because it looks nice, and B, because it just seasons the pastry. So it's gonna go in the oven at 200 degrees for 20 minutes. And then we're gonna turn down our oven to 180 degrees and go down to a further 30 minutes. Remember, the filling is cooked inside, so it's all about getting that pastry cooked through, that filling really hot, and a nice crust on top. We're gonna do a little preserved lemon, celery, condiment to go with it. I've got a few sticks of celery, and we're just gonna dice it. Got a preserved lemon. Take this pith off. Now I've just got a decent whack of mint. Obviously mint and lamb, best friends. So I'm just gonna stack all these mint leaves together, roll them up like that. I'm just gonna add the juice of half a lemon. Good pinch of flake salt. Nice slug of olive oil. Our lamb pie has been in the oven for about 45 minutes. We got our beautiful celery mint dressing ready to go. Let's plate up. So as you can see, we've got a lovely crust on top. It's beautifully glazed. You can hear it's cooked. The bottom's nice and crisp. Let's put it on the board. So here we are, guys, our beautiful lamb pie. You can see our crust is risen a little bit, a beautiful filling, a nice salsa condiment. Enjoy. Let's do it. Oh. Very good. Yeah.